Pat Walker here with Mission Winners. It is Sunday and once again time to dive into the ETFs and MAXLIST stocks. ARK Innovation, this is picking up. It's got resistance here at the 50-day. This is a weekly on the left and daily on the right. Okay, needs to push through that line with volume. But you can see there's quite a bit of overhead supply on this. There's not real clean entry with that, okay? Just for what it's worth, let's move on to the next one. This is ARK Next Generation Internet, and it's picking up a little bit, okay? But you can see, looking at this chart, there's not a lot of power in it at this point in time. Maybe later in the week, it'll start to form a better chart entry. But it's just telling us at this point in time, be a little careful with that industry group. You can punch up ARKW and find out what their top 10 holdings are and say, yeah, it's stuff I think I want to steer clear of at this point in time. Could it improve this week? Well, it is starting to pick up through the 50-day, so we'll have to watch and see. Let's move on. Biotechnology's hanging in okay. Maybe looking at some biotechnology stocks, and I'll tell you what I'm going to do for you to help you. We're going to shrink this just a little bit here. There we go. We can see more of the chart then. How's that? There we go. Let's move on. Cloud computing's picking up, but you can see there's a ton of overhead supply here on the weekly, folks. And it rallied up a little over the 50-day, but not much volume. There's not much power there. Be careful with that group, cloud computing. Let's move on. Energy still needs to push through the 50-day, folks. All right. And notice it fell on heavy volume and it went up on much less volume. Tells us to be careful. This is the daily. Look at the weekly chart. Says the same thing. Just be a little cautious with the energy sector. Move on. Dow Jones Internet needs to start to push that through here the 50-day. It is improving though. That's good to see. So we'll watch and see what happens. IBD 50's been lagging. Look at the weekly chart. That's why we haven't been involved in a lot of for over a month. We've avoided a ton of crud, and I'm thankful. Okay, and it's not forecasting. It's let the price and volume action of the index or the ETF guide you. So not a lot of power here. It fell on fairly heavy volume. Needs to start turning the corner. What does that tell you? On the IBD 50, it's lagging. It's lagging a little bit. Just be cautious with it. Gold miners picking up a little bit. Look at the volume pickup here on Friday. And you see that? There's some accumulation that occurred. By the way, this is a valuable lesson for everybody. Oh, it's a red bar on heavy volume, Pat. That's bad. I'd like you to look at where it opened. This is a priceless lesson, folks. This will make you money. Look at where it opened. Look at where it fell. Look at where it closed, up in the top third or fourth of its range on a pickup in volume. Folks, they bought it. They didn't sell it. They bought it. You can say, how can I say it? Well, look at where it opened and look at where it closed. It gaps down and volume came in. Buyers came into it. So it's acting okay right here in the gold miners. You can see the shelf across here. Potential entry right there could be a buy across these tops. Now it's an aggressive entry because it's a little bit extended. How do we control risk? If we buy less shares. Try to give lessons on here. Junior gold miners, same situation. Hangs in's okay. GLD, look at that. Look at those bases going across there. See, there's a funny phrase, but it's the truth. Birds of a feather flock together. You can see, oh, the gold miners are acting good. Oh, gold's acting good. That helps us, okay? GLD doesn't look too bad. What's the risk in it, though? It's a bit extended. There's a level right in here. Don't chase price. That's the moral. So you can say, I really want to buy this, and I don't own it, Pat. How can you control or lessen risk? If you buy it up here, you buy less shares. There you go. That's a real world lesson for you. Hack, acting differently, cybersecurity. You can see these tops across here. It doesn't look too bad. By the way, have you noticed the common theme here? Things have been improving a little bit. There we go. Let's move on. Biotechnology still needs to push through this top. There's some selling that goes on here on the daily, and there's some selling that goes on here on the weekly too. A little choppy in here, but you can see these tops across here, and I'll draw this to point it out for you, just to help. Needs to lift through here, take out that top, and it needs to do it with volume, okay? And note, on the weekly, there's selling volume on this bar, selling volume on this bar. On this bar, if you look closer, it closed above where it opened, so a little bit of support there on the weekly, as you can see on the daily. Let's continue onwards. Online retail's picking up, but there's no real clean entry on it at this point in time. Be a little careful with that, okay? Let's move on. Oil and gas, it's below the falling 50-day, fell on heavy volume, rallied up on decreasing volume. Not a clean base there. Be careful with oil and gas. Let's continue onward. Software. Now look at comparison there. There's not a lot of power there. Oh, look at that one. That looks better. Software. There's some strength there. Are we involved with software? Yes. The ETF was telling us to. We found some leading stocks. There we go. There's some tops across here. Best thing this could do to base a little longer and then take out these tops. But it is telling us something. Software's improving. There you go. Medicine, improving. Look at that. Picking up. And look at the steadily increasing volume. IHI. There's no clean entry on the ETF, but it's guiding us saying maybe look into some medical stocks, leading medical stocks. There we go. We systematize and it helps us. Mid cap picking up a little bit here, but man, there's some wide and loose action on the weekly. Be careful with that. A gap down here and a gap down there. Gap up here. So it's not really clean and simple in this point in time, but it is telling us something important. Mid-cap stocks are improving. That's good to know. Let's move on. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Here we go. Aerospace and defense hanging in pretty good right here across these tops. Now this is a V bottom, and I'd like to educate here. By the way, we don't just give ideas of mission winners. We want to educate. That's a knowledge base then that you know then, you own it and can use it. V-shaped bases are less reliable. They're riskier than a rounding bottom base, okay? So what do we do with a situation like this, okay? Well, it's V-shaped. It's riskier. The best thing this could do would be to form some semblance of a handle here, okay? And I try to teach all this to help. Form some semblance of a handle, and that would be good. What else is a slight negative? It fell on fairly heavy volume here, and it rallied back up on less volume than it fell on. Not a lot of power, just things to look for. And again, this is what we teach, this is what I taught at the IBD meetups. Let's move on. Here we go. There's the mid cap, nothing there. There's aerospace defense, we just went through it. There's home construction, just basing here. Fell on fairly heavy volume, and it hasn't shown a lot of power going up here. So be a little cautious with that. There's growth, S&P 500 growth, picking up some, as you can see on the daily and the weekly. You can see some steady lift, not heavy volume, but what has it told us? Hey, back here, starting to pick up. Hey, looking at some growth stocks. This is a beautiful part of Mission Winners, what we do. We don't have to forecast. We simply watch what's happening. It will guide us to the areas for opportunity, or it keeps us away from areas that are no good. Small cap's still lagging. It's picking up a little bit here on the daily and the weekly, but it's still lagging here, and there's a ton of overhead supply. Need to see some improvement with small cap. Real estate, look at the base here. I'll draw this for you. That was an old line I had drawn. I'll get rid of this, and I'll do this. There you go. There's some tops there. There's some accumulation there, but there was also distribution on this bar. Look. Now on the weekly, it looks a little bit better going across these tops. You could punch up IYR, see what their top holdings are, and maybe you'll find an opportunity to buy something. Or maybe if this breaks out, you could buy IYR. There you go. That's, again, systematizing things. Our tactics work. They help us. They guide us into certain areas and keep us away from others. Transport's still chopping around here a little bit, okay? You can see it on the weekly. That's choppy. That's wide and loose patterns. Be careful with that, okay? Oh, you got a gap down here, okay? Oh, you got a reversal bar here. Oh, you got a gap up here, but you got a hard decline here. You got a pretty ugly tail bar here. It's a little sloppier. Maybe later in the week, though, it will provide an opportunity for this ETF or for some transportation stocks. Airlines are grounded. I love saying that, okay? It's dad humor. Gee whiz, you got to have fun. Anyway, look at the weekly chart. There's nothing there. You look at the daily chart. Gap down on volume. Gap down on volume. Leave it alone for right now. There's nothing to do with it. This is a beautiful part here, team. This is for everybody. It's great to know what to look for to maybe for opportunity. It's almost just as powerful to know what to avoid. It narrows our focus. And I love that. Here we go. This is picking up a little bit. Insurance, be nice if it could form a handle here. One slight negative is there was heavy selling volume on this bar. This bar reversed back a little bit, but it's kind of a choppier pattern. Be a little cautious with it. Continue onward. Regional banking picking up, but there's no real clean safe entry there. Mid caps picking up, no super safe entry right there. Market home builders. You can see this little shelf right here, but there was some heavy selling volume in here. Just be a little cautious with the home builders. There we go. By the way, I need to pause here. Please don't think I'm getting all negative and bearish. No, I'm just pointing out what is. That's all. Okay, it's like, oh, it's raining outside. Oh, you're negative. No, it's just raining. Okay, eventually it's going to get sunny. It's all right. Oil services right here. What does this tell you on the daily? What does it tell you on the weekly? Stay away from energy services. Leave it alone. Pharmaceuticals picking up a little bit. See that little shelf right here? I want to draw something for you. You'll like this. Slight downward sloping trend line. What's a major component in that? Oh, yeah, there's a company. What's it called? Yeah, Eli Lilly, LLY, and it's owned. There we go. QLD, I like this base going across here. You can see these tops, and I'll connect this for you to help you. There you go. Just a simple flat base, folks. That's all. Nothing fancy. Take this out here at the 50-day in that line. Take it out with volume. By the way, you notice volume steadily increasing on that? We like that. Now, what does that tell us? Oh, this is improving, but it's the NASDAQ 100 ETF, the big stocks, right? Think MAXLIST. Hint, hint. It's improving. It's telling you, hey, you might want to look at some of the stocks in that group. And we have, and we own some. There we go, because we did the other video, as you've seen, or you will see. NASDAQ 100 not leveraged. There you go. Retail picking up a little bit, but it's kind of, I'm going to refresh this just to make sure this is correct. Bear with me. Yeah, there's some gaps in here. You got to be a little careful with this. When you see gaps, you get caught on the wrong side of a gap and you have a problem. Okay, but it is telling us that retail is picking up a little bit, the consumer. There we go. Cloud computing's picking up a little bit. Here's the weekly. We've got some tops across here, and I'll draw this for you. Maybe looking at some cloud computing stocks. See what's the beauty of what we do at Mission Winners? Areas to concentrate on further and areas to avoid. Opposite sides of the same coin. It helps us make better investing decisions, more money, and save money. Silver's lagging, nothing to do with it. Leave it alone. Steel is lagging, nothing to do with it. Leave it alone. I mean, you can say, well, you went awfully fast there, Pat. Let's go back and take a look. It's below the falling 50-day. There's no real power here. Leave it alone. Steel, it's well below the falling 50-day. There's not a lot of power there. Leave it alone. SMH is picking up a little bit. Needs to push through these tops right here. And you can see on the weekly too. Needs to push through here. So what does that tell you? Maybe looking at some semiconductor stocks, but it does need to show more power. There we go. The leveraged one, very good. Spiders, picking up a little bit. And you can see it's been steadily grinding up here. We like that. And yes, what have we done? Yeah, we've been buying stocks. The market's told us to. Leading stocks and leading groups. There we go. There's the non-leveraged one improving a little bit. Solar's lagging. I mean, do a compare and contrast. Oh, look at that. That's over the 50-day, and the 50-day is starting to pick up. Oh, okay. Look at that. Oh, that's below the falling 50-day, and they ain't doing nothing. So what does that tell you? Leave solar stocks alone for right now. There you go. It's good to know. I'll move on here. Small caps, not a lot of power there. Be careful with small caps. Oil is not doing much of anything. Okay, the market heated up on Friday, and this thing actually gapped down. So stay away from the oil stocks. Done. Aerospace and defense picked up a little bit. That doesn't look too bad. Maybe take a look into some aerospace and defense stocks. You can punch up XAR and look at their top 10 holdings. There may be an opportunity there. One slight negative, though, it fell on fairly heavy volume, and it came back on substantially less volume than it went up on. That's good to know. It's a V-shaped base also, or a V bottom. And I will just tell you this, from years of experience, V bottoms are riskier than rounded bottoms, okay, or flat bases. Just laying that out for you. Okay, let's move on here. Biotechnology picking up a little bit. Okay, that doesn't look too bad. Slight improvement there. That's a growth sector. Home builders, there's just not much happening right there. Home builders have been really good to us through the years, okay? We had it back here on the weekly. We had it back here. I mean, we had it back here. This was a career. Okay. But right now, here we are. Ran up, pulled back, needs to base here and form a pattern. Nothing right there. Building materials picking up, but it's awfully loose. Look at the selling volume on the weekly. Just tells you to be careful. You don't have to overthink it. I just want to share this. This is really important. Concentrate on patterns that are easy to see, easy for you to see. You don't have to look for it. Be pragmatic. If it's easy for you to see, it's easy for other people to see, which increases the odds that A, they see it, and B, they'll buy. And that's what we want. And that's what we teach at Mission Winners. And it works. Here we go. Communication services, picking up a little bit, but you got a tail bar here. That's met with serious selling. Look where it opened. Gaps up, reverses up, closes in the bottom third of its range, and then drops. It's awfully loose. It's a loose pattern. Be careful with that at this point in time. Energy's picking up, but there's no real clean entry there. Financial's picking up a little bit. And I'll draw this for you. By the way, I'm doing this real time. I did not go through all these charts and rehearse this. We're doing it right now, quote unquote, live from New York. It's Mission Winners charts. Here we go. Going across these tops right here, okay? Fell on fairly heavy volume. It's come back on less volume, but it does tell us the financials are improving, and that's nice to see. No entry on it, but just pointing that out. Industrial's picking up, no super clean entry right there. XLK was really dogging it for a while here, and now it's starting to pick up. Support our resistance right here at the 50-day. I'd love to see this power through the 50-day with volume. This is a great index proxy, ETF proxy for technology. Okay, just something to bear in mind. Here we go. Consumer staples picking up a little bit. This is nice to see, telling us consumers coming back a bit. But it's also important. Consumer staples, not discretionary. This is worth your time right here. Most people don't know. Oh, consumer. Staples, things you have to have. Okay? Toilet paper. I'm not trying to be cute or funny or crude. It's a fact. It's more defensive. Consumer staples. Okay? And it's acting okay. When you see that really strong, that's telling you that the consumer is being defensive with what they're spending. Okay? It's acting okay. So nothing to do with it, but just a little lesson for you right there. Utilities picking up a little bit. That's nice to see. What is that? That is, you know this, interest rate sensitive. So that's good there. Healthcare's picking up a little bit. Doesn't look too bad. No clean entry on there. Consumer discretionary. This is the discretionary one. Okay. Stuff you don't have to have. You got to have food. Okay. You have to have toilet paper. I'm not trying to be crude and vulgar. Just things you have to. This is discretionary stuff. Things you don't have to have. All right. And it's underperforming a little bit. And that's okay because it's discretionary. Metals and mining is lagging. Look at this. It's below the 50-day. Here's a valuable lesson for everybody. If you focus on stocks, any stock, and it's above a rising 50-day, you will dramatically improve your investing results. Narrow your focus down. You don't look at a million charts. Look for the best of the best. Stick with those. Oil, look at that 50-day, the green line. It's below it. Leave it alone. Here we go. XRT retail coming back a little bit, but you look at the weekly and go, man, there's some selling in that animal. Look at that. Consumer there, consumer selling there, selling there. Just tells you to be a little careful with the retailers. All righty. Software's picking up. It's pretty dang ugly on the weekly and the daily. Needs to improve. Okay, so that was the ETFs. Now we dive into the MAXLIST stocks. But first, let me ask you, have you hit that subscribe button yet? We noticed that only about 40% of the viewers on our weekly videos are subscribed. If you have enjoyed this video so far, please hit the subscribe button. It is 100% free, and it helps us get more great videos to you. Oh yeah, the like button, also please do hit that. And if you have any questions, leave a comment below. Now let's get into the MAXLIST stocks. So here we go. Here's Apple. Weekly on the left, daily on the right. Look at the big tail bar on the weekly. Notice it gapped down and it closed near the highs on the weekly bar. And this is why we own it. And it's working. And you see these tops across here? And I'll draw this to help you. If this market continues to show strength, takes out that line on the daily with volume, that could be a buy to buy more. It's a clean enough base. It could be an initial buy, but it is a bit extended here. So how do we control risk? If we buy less shares. There we go. Let's move on here and keep on rocking. There's Amazon, had a low level base down here, reversal bar. Note this bar right here. It gapped down, just like the stocks I just showed. The indexes gapped down, fell, and closed up near its highs. And it marched through, pushing through these tops right here. And I'll draw this to help you. Simple basis, folks. It'll really help you. And look at the volume pickup there and the volume pickup right here versus this previous bars as it lifted through that line and the 8 EMA. And it's working. What's it tell us? Well, they're buying Amazon. Okay. Now, there's still overhead supply. So we'll watch it. Another slight red flag. It's rallying on decreasing volume on the weekly and little volume here on the daily. It looks good. Just be careful buying up here. Okay. We're in it from lower, so we'll see what happens. And again, I just try to educate with these things. Alibaba going across these tops here. And you can see it right here on the weekly, and I'll draw this to help you. There you go. Just going across those tops. And it lifted off on good volume. Now, it's a bit extended, so I'm not saying buy it here, but I'm just pointing out there's another MAXLIST stock that's acting okay. Let's move on. BIDU. Now do a compare and contrast. Well, that one's kind of picking up. That's really not doing too much of anything. You're exactly right. Leave it alone. Move on to the next one. Google, there's a base right here on the weekly, as you can see, and I'll draw this to help you. And there's a base right here on the daily, and I'll draw this to help you. This is a powerful template, by the way. Now, what's it need to do? Well, it tried to push through that line and it backed off yesterday on Friday. It needs to take out these tops right here, and it needs to do it with really good volume and a good market. If that happens, that's a potential buy candidate right there. A lot of overhead supply on it. So how do we lessen risk? Adjust share size. Go bigger on clean and simple flat bases. Go smaller on chart patterns that are less reliable. We teach that at Mission Winners all the time. Meta, low level entry right here, and it's working for us. And notice this. This was other catalyst. Look at the volume that was coming into this on the weekly. So we're in good shape. Now, I want to get rid of this right here just to clean this up. And I'd like to show you something else. And we teach these things all the time. I taught these at the IBD meetups. It rallied up. Notice it went up on decent volume, but then it fell on a pickup in volume on Friday. What does it need to do? It needs to form a handle here. And I'm not saying it's going to, but this is what we'll be looking for. If it can form the cup, which it has, and then form a handle, that could be a good buy. It could be an add-on or a good buy, and we'll be ready for it. There we go. I refreshed it. Let's move on to the next one. There's Microsoft picking up. There's a low-level spot here, but other than that, there's not a really super clean entry on it, okay? I wish I could tell you there was, but there's not at this point in time. Goldman Sachs is picking up, but it has a tail bar here, and I also have to share this. When this fell here, look at the selling volume on the weekly. It dropped like a rock, and it's come back up on much less volume than it fell on. So be a little cautious with Goldman Sachs. MasterCard's got some tops across here, but there's a tail bar here, and it dropped really hard. It's kind of loose, and on this daily bar, notice where it closed. It closed near the lows. Okay, so it's a loose pattern. Be a little careful with MasterCard. Just trying to give you some guidance. Netflix, owned from down lower. I'll show pictures with 1,000 words. There we go. And VIP's bought it. It was on the list, pushing through here and pushing through the 50-day. Look at the volume pickup on that bar right there, folks. They voted. Watch this. I like to do this to slide it back. Oh, it's basing there. Oh, I see that line. Yeah, I guess if it takes out these clean tops right here, that'd be okay. Oh, look, it does on a pickup in volume. They voted. There we go. And that's where we're at now. There we go. Let's move on. NVIDIA. NVIDIA is owned down in here. See that reversal bar right there? You see the volume on that reversal bar? See where it closed on that reversal bar? Clean tops on the daily here too. Another spot coming across right in there. And it's working. It's a MAXLIST stock. I love these stocks. We let it work and see where it goes. Maybe it's going to stop. I don't know. Okay. But we'll just let it work and see what happens. Maybe sell some into strength, but you can see it's acting fine. There we go. Let's move on. There's NVDL. That's the leveraged one, similar to NVIDIA. Okay. There's Tesla. See this little base breakout right here on Tesla on the daily? Okay. There was a level right there. And then, this is just exciting stuff, I'll tell you. There's another little base right there. And there was good volume poking through there right there. You see that? There we go. And we bought it. There we are. Now, where's it going to go? I don't know. I like the base. And it is, folks, again, a MAXLIST stock. We'll watch this and see what happens. And this is a very important lesson. We're always prepared in mission winners. I'm making this video on Saturday morning. See the price alert, the upper alert, and the middle alert? If it starts to take out right in here, the close, we'll be ready for it on Monday. We're always prepared. Now, you can say, what do you mean by being prepared? Well, if it keeps going up and it takes out, and I'll drop this just a bit. If this starts to take out Friday's highs, guess what we'll do? We'll buy more. If it has good price action and good volume action, and the market's okay.
All right,
There
team, that's our weekly review. Hope it helps you get a
right
clearer
here,
picture of where the
base,
market's headed
there's a
and what
support
stocks
level.
to keep an eye
So we'll
on.
watch and see
By the
what
way,
happens.
don't forget about
Anyway,
our weekly
mission
top
winners,
stocks
we
to
always
have
have
on
a
your
plan.
watch list video
That's
coming
the
out tomorrow at
MAXLIST,
1
a
p.m.
video overview
Eastern.
for everybody.
If you're curious
on
about what
what's
we
going
covered
on.
last week,
And
you
I
can
will
find the
tell you
link to that
something,
video
folks,
in the top
this
right
is the
corner.
honest to goodness
Remember, these
truth.
watch list videos are
I
just a small
love
taste of what our VIP
MAXLIST.
members get with the daily keyless videos on
if I only had one
missionwinners.com.
list of stocks,
So
it'd
if
be
you're
the
serious
MAXLIST.
about finding those
See
super
that base
performance
right
stocks,
there?
consider joining us.
Right here?
Now, I'm curious to hear
Around
from you.
220.
What are your thoughts on
We owned it
today's
back
market
there.
review?
Simple base.
Do you have any questions
on
or
the weekly.
concerns? Feel free to
See
drop
this
a
base
comment
right
below.
here?
I love hearing from you. Thanks for
You
sticking
can ask
around for the whole
veteran
video.
members. I'm not
If you
making
liked
this
it,
up.
hit that like button and subscribe to our channel.
Weekly
And
base
remember,
breakout.
stay sharp, keep
And
learning,
that
and keep finding those
was a
winners.
career right there. Anyway, enough of that. The point is this. That sounds like I'm bragging, and I'm not. I apologize.